was recently surfing the internet, Reddit to be extra specific, when I noticed extra nonsense being spewed on the dividend subreddit about SCHD. They were talking about how the ETF has been down recently, and how they feel they have been shilled and hoodwinked. Have the SCHD fund managers stole our money and made a run for it? I have a feeling they didn't get too far, because SCHD is poised for greatness. So let's go over exactly why. First, let's talk about what SCHD or SCHD is, and then what SCHD or SCHD isn't. And then, of course, the secret to getting rich with SCHD. So SCHD is going to be a fund that tracks the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. It's primarily used to be a core position in a portfolio to give exposure to blue chip dividend paying companies that are high quality and could give sustainable dividends for years to come. The Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index gets rebalanced annually, with new companies meeting its financial criteria, and also gets rebalanced quarterly to make sure companies get weighted appropriately. The screeners the stock must pass through include at least 10 consecutive years of dividend payments. Notice how it doesn't say increasing dividends, but just paying a dividend. I'll make another video about why this is so important, so keep an eye out for that one. To be in SCHD, you also have to have a $500 million market cap and certain daily volume trading minimums. This is to ensure that we don't end up being the owner of penny stocks and low quality companies. All the companies passing these basic requirements are then ranked in descending order by dividend yield, then the bottom 50% are eliminated. Then even further selection criteria is imposed, such as free cash flow to total debt, return on equity, dividend yield, 5-year dividend growth rate. These are all things a good investor would look for when researching and investing into a company, except SCHD makes it all passive for a very small management fee. SCHD even does all the weighting for us, so no particular company is more than 4% of the index, and no sector is larger than 25% of the index. So it's an amazing way to get dividend stocks and stay diversified. SCHD is about to celebrate its 12th birthday later this year. It's reaching those bratty teenage years. And since that time, they have rewarded shareholders with non-stop quarterly dividends that have went up over time, by the way, and they've also went up nearly 200% since then in capital appreciation. SCHD was a fan favorite in 2022, with some even speculating that it could cause world peace. Unfortunately, 2023 has proved why that will never be possible, because people will inevitably complain about anything and everything. When stocks don't just always go up, people are gonna complain. SCHD has lagged the overall market big time this year, giving a 2.73% negative return versus the market's 17.98% positive return. Now, I've made a couple videos talking about why this is the case, but it can be attributed to most of the gains this year have come from just a few big tech companies, which SCHD is severely lacking in. Also, keep in mind the Fed has consistently been raising interest rates these past couple years, so this means that savings rates have also went up. CDs are giving higher interest these days, and this is what rich people flock to. Why would you risk your money with the stock market when you can get a guaranteed 5% return at your bank with no risk? In an increasing interest rate environment, dividend stocks aren't going to do as hot because you can get a lot higher yield with much less risk elsewhere. But this is where the secret comes into play. This is the best time to buy SCHD, when the fund isn't doing as hot, when it's near those 52-week lows. Because guess what will one day, probably sooner than later, happen is the Fed will cut those interest rates, which means all that money that's been in savings or CDs, it's gonna come crawling back into dividend stocks. This is just simple economics. It happened before and it will happen again. The Fed has so much power, but most people will never realize this. The people who became rich after the 2008-2009 recession, they were buying in at the bottom. They don't care that stocks had been sluggish in the short term. They knew in the long run, these were wonderful companies providing goods and services and were going to be profitable, and they were going to return some of that to shareholders in the form of dividends. Just look at the companies inside SCHD that make billions of dollars each year. Home Depot, UPS, Pepsi. You really think just because the share price hasn't done well that that's going to be impacting the day-to-day of these companies? Buy an investment, stash it away, and collect cash. And over time, an investor will become rich. SCHD is not a get-rich-overnight scheme. If you want that, go play the lottery, which the latest Powerball has $1 billion payout. SCHD is indeed magical, but SCHD is not always just going to go up no matter what. No ETF is going to do that. It's not an ETF that's designed to beat the market. It's not always going to give positive returns. Just like anything else in life, it doesn't owe you anything. However, actual long-term investors know this is a basket of 100 fabulous companies, and in the long run, which is 5+ years minimum, not 5 trading days, stocks generally go up. I absolutely love this comment I saw on Reddit. Lots of people in the sub start off with saying, I bought SCHD for the long run, but 2 weeks have passed and they're asking if they should sell because it hasn't moved up. This perfectly describes my cringe every time I hear people talking about SCHD these days. But guys, I just told you the secret. Rich people are buying assets when they are at a discount. They are always forward focusing in nature. They're not constantly looking at their portfolio every day to see if SCHD went up or down. I'm buying shares of SCHD on a weekly basis. Please guys, keep on selling. I want to buy more shares at a discount. I can't wait when SCHD rebounds and people will have major FOMO. Hit that like button for a small-time YouTuber. Make sure you're subscribed. My videos are always found in podcast form under the Collect Cash podcast name. Make sure you join the Discord. We have plenty of SCHD lovers in there and dividend investors. Why don't you actually try buying, stashing, and collecting cash?